Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you.
As spring continues to blossom across the state, communities seem reborn.
Meet the Hoosiers transforming the environment around them. Discover a new Indianapolis Bookshare initiative where public libraries meet public art. Meet the conservationists working to restore the Grand Kankakee Marsh, once one of the largest wetlands in America. Explore a recycling organization saving lives while changing the environment. And welcome singer-songwriter Stone to the studio. Transform your own sense of Indiana.
With stories you'll only find right here on the Weekly Special.
Hello, I'm Erica Sagone.
And I'm Daryl Neer.
You know, we love to tell stories about inspiring Hoosiers, and the fun part is finding out what motivates people to do what they do.
And that really is the special meaning and magic behind these Hoosier stories.
Yep, and so for Rachel Simon, a lifelong love of books and appreciation for art has combined into a unique approach to literacy.
I wanted to start the public collection because I have a deep love of art and a love of books, plus the love of community. And I think those three things together are what the public collection is really about.
9 Bookshare stations designed by Hoosier artists, installed throughout downtown Indianapolis, indoors and out. This is the public collection. Think little free libraries, but taken to the next level.
It exposes people to art and also to literature, and both are kind of the cornerstones of any culture. And without them, you know, where would we be? The more we can expose people to those things, the more we can grow.
Rachel's project puts both books and local art in places where you'd least expect to find them. On the sidewalk in Monument Circle in the heart of downtown, at a day shelter for the homeless, in the lobby of a hospital building, on the lawn at White River State Park. The Bookshare stations can also be found at some of the city's busiest places, like City Market and the Indianapolis Museum of Art.
The focus was how can we reach as many people as possible. There's no due date, no expectation that you have to bring the books back. There's a sense of you're putting trust into people when you have just these books sitting out and you don't have to sign anything, you don't have to pay anything. You're entrusting people, and when you put trust out there, it's kind of special in the world today.
Indianapolis Public Library supplies the books and stocks the shelves, and an estimated 15,000 books have made their way into the community via the public collection. For Rachel, a graduate of the Heron School of Art and Design, showcasing Hoosier artists was an important part of the mission. The public collection invited artists to submit designs, then match the artists to the locations.
There's a purpose and a story behind each piece, and then also the way it relates to the location. There's so much meaning.
Take Indianapolis artist Katie Hudnall, who designed a Bookshare station called Nautilus for Eskenazi Hospital.
For me, this was really lovely because thinking about people in a hospital setting wanting to be able to travel away from themselves for a little bit or away from their problems, I just loved that idea of books being transportation. I had a terrible learning disability when I was a kid, and I didn't learn to read until about 4th grade. And when I did, it was like all of a sudden having this ability to escape, to get out and travel all over the place. It's like you have that sort of feeling of freedom. That's the way I felt about learning how to read.
Katie built the 10-foot-long piece with reclaimed wood she collected, and now it's stocked with novels, autobiographies, and more for the taking.
It makes these books feel important rather than like a dying sort of breed. You know, it makes books feel like all of a sudden they're these incredibly important things again.
The project is supported by the Herbert Simon Family Foundation. Rachel credits her father, Herbert, for her love of books.
I loved books when I was little, and I don't know if I ever saw my dad without a book under his arm, ever. Ever. It didn't matter where we were going, what we were doing, he always had a book under his arm. And, you know, my sister always had her nose in a book. My brother still carries a bag of books everywhere. It was just a reading family, kind of ingrained in me. We went to the bookstore, like a weekly bookstore trip with my dad when we were younger. The bookstore visits have been going on for years now, and they still continue, with my daughter now in tow. So it's been like a family tradition. It's really fun.
As she grew up, she felt like everyone should have such access to books, and the seed for the public collection was planted. A second phase of Bookshare stations is in the works to reach even more people in Indianapolis.
This is an extension kind of to libraries and museums, and it's bringing the books and the art to the people and kind of wiping away any barriers. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you have, there are no barriers. It's just bringing those two really powerful things, the literature and the art, and placing them in front of anybody that comes by.
To learn more about the public collection artists, including the Bookshare locations, visit thepubliccollection.org. Daryl, it's so neat just to see all the forms that these Bookshare stations took. I mean, one's a refrigerator, the one at White River State Park is an actual shelter. It's just like an amazing amount of creativity in Indianapolis.
It's such a meaningful impact on the visitors and residents of downtown Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Well, the public collection is transforming old concepts into new works of art. But our next story is all about using new concepts to restore old beauty.
The Grand Kankakee Marsh. It is a relic of glacial proportions, literally. 15,000 years ago, as the last glacier retreated north, a vast outwash plain of sand and water was left in its wake, forming the Grand Kankakee Marsh. This beautiful wetland was once one of the largest freshwater marshes in the United States, covering over 500,000 acres in northern Indiana. But by the 1800s, with the rise of industry across the region and lack of ecological understanding, the marsh was nearly destroyed.
The first people to come into an area are farmers. And for farmers to come into an area, they have to have a means for crops to get to market. And the thought was, we ditch the marsh, we drain it, we sell the land, state makes money, and it makes sense, there's logic. But then the human side comes in. You have corruption, corrupt contractors, corrupt politicians. Indiana floated bonds, money was all spent, and nothing was to be seen of it. Indiana basically went bankrupt.
To combat the economic depression, landowners in the area continued to drain the river, shifting their focus from navigation to flood control, in hopes that the former wetland could be repurposed and sold as agricultural plots. With the newly added railroad system crisscrossing the region, farmers no longer depended on the Kankakee for transport. The once meandering 250-mile river had been battered into a 90-mile trench.
But then within 2 years, they realized that what made the marsh so rich was this flooding. And just like the Amazon, that's thick, vegetable life, wildlife, great. But then you burn it off and it's thin topsoil and it's a desert. Same thing happened here. It was a desert. Trees had shallow root systems, they fell over. The sand was horrible for plants. Farmers didn't succeed. There was some, to be honest, there was some good land that was created, but at such a price. I mean, to devastate the ecosystem of such a large area, sort of on a whim for selfish reasons, and without the forethought of what possibly could happen. I don't think they wanted to think of it. They just saw money, let's do it.
By 1918, less than 5% of the Grand Kankakee Marsh remained. In an effort to curb the continued destruction, a conservation group, the Isaac Walton League, made it their mission to restore the marsh. With the help of such initiatives as the Wetlands Reserve Program, conservationists have teamed up with local landowners such as John to recover the wetlands. The planting of native grasses has helped filter decades of chemical runoff from farms, and the introduction of recreational tours and wildlife viewing has encouraged a long-term commitment to restoring the Grand Kankakee's previous glory.
So it's a worthy cause, and it's something, it's kind of at the core of our mission, because even though we're a historical society, the environment and the wildlife and the historical, they go hand in hand. It's the same story. And it's also a story about people, the good and the bad, those that can do harm and those that do great good. We destroyed this 85 years ago, and it is turning around. And so we need to continue working toward that. It's sort of a feel-good thing. As I said earlier, I'm a lucky guy. It fell into my lap. For whatever reason or whoever directed me, it gave Mary and I a mission and a purpose in life, and we feel like we're doing something for people, and they're doing things for us to help us, and it's working.
To explore more history about the Grand Kankakee Marsh, as well as learn about ongoing efforts, visit KankakeeValleyHistoricalSociety.org. Erica, that is just such a fabulous reclamation project to restore the environmental vitality of the marsh.
Yeah, and a beautiful one at that. The Kankakee conservationists are certainly transforming the environment, but our next story is about using the environment to transform lives.
In this warehouse, we have our intake. We disassemble or sort out this product, and once it has been sorted out and disassembled, it's packaged up and shipped off to the vendors or the persons who are in need of that particular product.
Copper, aluminum, steel. We support at least 3 dozen Indiana steel jobs with our steel alone. Plastic, and then all the gold that you get to see in these computers and electronics.
In total, over 6 million pounds of valuable materials are processed at this Indianapolis facility each year, much of it by hand.
They know how to run that plant, they know how to recover the items we want, they know how to handle freon and do safety procedures, and that's all ex-offenders, every last person, from the receptionist all the way to the top.
Since it began in 2006, RecycleForce has helped over 650 men and women with re-entry from the penal system. And the main goal for Greg is that they don't go back.
The #1 reason people go to prison in Indiana is not a crime. It is a technical rule violation of your parole and probation. People coming out of prison have all of these mandates they have to juggle between, do I go to work or do I take my drug test? Do I go to work or do I meet with my parole officer? Do I go to work or do I go to my drug treatment class? And they all happen. There's nobody trying to coordinate, that's what we do, but very few people are not coordinating that. So people choose to follow the criminal justice. That's actually the right thing to do, and they lose their job. And so that's what we've done. We designed a work site that allows the criminal justice oversight system to be here and help monitor. The average parole officer sees their charge face-to-face about 1.5 to 2 hours per month. We see these guys 40 hours every single week. And so we get to know people, we understand what's going on, and we become the eyes and the ears of parole.
This personal approach has allowed RecycleForce to achieve a return to prison rate of just over 17%. A striking number considering that Marion County has an average of 50% recidivism. And not only do employees remain out of prison, they're able to hone their skills through classes and certifications.
When you first start, they ask you questions like, what do you want to do? So we just moved from there, and I kept adding to it. Like my forklift, which I just recently got it, so that's exciting, you know. The sky's the limit, basically, because there's nothing that they won't do to help. You know, I've always been in negative areas, negative things in my life since the time I was 15, in and out of juvenile, in and out of jail, in and out of prison. And now I live a productive life, and I'm doing something that I've never done before. Somebody took a chance and trusted me and showed me how to do it, and now it's mine, you know, I'm doing it.
And with such skills, many temporary employees are able to find permanent work across Indiana. But for some, like warehouse manager Charles Neal, RecycleForce becomes family, and they become leaders.
I see them as a human being that made a bad choice, just like I did, and now we can work together and move towards our healing. I know that many of them come to work with many issues, and it's my job peer-to-peer to find out what those issues are so I can properly address them with the individual, whether it is addictions, whether it is they need child care, whether it is they need to work on getting their license.
And so we have so many people that's what happens, right? It doesn't happen, it's not this perfect linear process. You don't come in the program and work here for 4 months or 6 months and then sail into the success. It's this process that goes back and forth. It helps is my new way to say things. I don't know what works. I know it helps. A job helps. Medical care helps. Housing helps. Food helps. But the job is what we do. The job is the most important thing. It's how you frame yourself. You have a job. You frame yourself around this. It's what you do.
It certainly helped Lionel Muse. When he started at Recycle Force, he was making $9 an hour. At the end of the week, after taxes, system fees, bills, and groceries, there wasn't much left.
I got about $8 left. And I'm like, oh my God, I did all this. What is this for? You know what I mean? I'm trying to do it the right way. How am I gonna make it?
Discouraged, Lionel took what little he had left and rented a movie for his family.
The movie's coming on. The credits is getting ready to start. My daughter turns around with her popcorn, grease all over her face and said, Daddy, this is the best day ever. And right then I knew my hard work, even though it wasn't as much money as I thought, it was appreciated by my loved ones and it made me stay on the path. So Recycle Force helped me stay my life.
We throw away our trash and we throw away these individuals and we think they're trash. And if we can bring them both together, there's something cool about bringing those two things together and taking something society doesn't want and turning it into things society really wants.
To learn more about the Recycle Force services, including how to donate yourself, visit recycleforce.org. A great story, and Daryl, earlier this year, Recycle Force received a big grant from a venture philanthropy fund in San Francisco. Out of 200 proposals, Recycle Force was one of 22 selected, and they're going to use the grant to employ more people.
It's such a great story about a commitment to second chances and a reinvestment in the community.
Yeah.
Well, he's gained a reputation for his intimate lyrics and raw performances. Meet Stoner.
So I've been playing music ever since I was in 5th grade, and at that time in elementary school I started playing trumpet, and I took trumpet lessons. But it wasn't until I was in 8th grade when I started to teach myself how to play guitar. I would just look up chords on the internet or guitar tabs, and then over time when I ended up playing through the songs, I kind of saw the themes in songwriting and how certain songs took on different major and minor keys and things like that. So a lot of it was just sort of picking it up and noticing a lot of things while playing. And then I started writing my own songs about a year or two after I started playing guitar. So when I entered high school is when I started writing my own material and just sort of wrote and recorded small little songs sort of at home. So that's sort of where it began. The songs that I write aren't very methodical. I would say that sort of has a pop element to it. I'm not trying to make the music super serious or anything like that. But honestly, they're just songs that I like writing and playing and hearing something that I like that's good enough for me. But if other people end up liking it, then that's great too. And so it's sort of capturing little vignettes of those moments where I wrote the songs. And I think it's sort of captured within the lyricism and the immediacy of the music. But alternatively, there are times where I'll maybe be at practice with a band, or I'll be practicing a song for a show, and transition comes up in my head, and then I play it on guitar, and then I'll just say to myself I have to write something for this right now. I should just write down some lyrics, or I should write something out for it. I guess the reasons why I'd want to keep on being an artist is, frankly, because I really enjoy playing music and writing music. A lot of it, I think, comes down to the community that comes with music. Having people being there at a performance And giving you feedback on your music is a very driving thing, and it's a very encouraging thing. If nobody heard like the music that I wrote, I mean, I'd be totally fine with that. Like I really wouldn't care. Sometimes I just have this desire to just sort of like get things out of my mind, and if it's through music, then that's great. If it's through writing, that's also great.
And now, Stone Ur.
In my brain I can't decide who I want to live. In my brain I can't decide who I want to die. Mother, Father, please don't let those thoughts get to you. Son and daughter, please don't let those thoughts get to you. Standing in a hardware store are nails on the wall. Could they be in your neck? Wouldn't that be awful? Son and daughter, please don't let those thoughts get to you. Mother, Father, please don't let those thoughts get to you. Can we all agree when those thoughts, they will hit you? Can we just agree that those thoughts, they will hit you? When I was 15, I always thought I'd stay so pure. When I was 15, I always thought I'd stay that pure. We're going to hell, and I can't breathe from all your loving. We're going to hell, and I can't breathe from all your touching. We're going to hell, and I can't breathe from all your loving. We're going to hell, and I can't breathe from all your touching. All you loving, all you touching. Down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs.
Visit Stone's Facebook page for the latest list of upcoming performances and music releases. Well, Erica, it really is the inspiration that gives so much magic to these Hoosier stories.
Yes, absolutely. And that's all the time that we've got for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And one more time before we go, Stone Ur.
I wake up on the floor of friends I've known a couple of times. Never more than one hard stare. We talk about things I can't recall. It's nothing too mundane. So friends I've known a couple of times. Never more than one hard stare. We talk about things I can't recall. It's nothing to mundane, so I grasp onto their little words to remind me of my fate. So I grasp onto their little words.
Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you.